I was sitting in my apartment on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the city outside blurred by streaks of water on the windows, the kind of day that makes you feel like time is stretching, endless, and heavy. I had just finished my usual routine of scrolling through emails, most of them dull notifications, bills, and work reminders. But then something caught my eye, a name I hadn't seen in over a decade. Her name. At first I froze. My heart thumped painfully in my chest as memories rushed back uninvited, like a flood breaking through a dam I thought had long held them back. I hadn't thought of her in years. Life had moved on. I had moved on. Or at least I told myself I had. But seeing her name made every old, buried feeling resurface in an instant. The subject line was simple, almost understated. "You're invited." I clicked the email, half expecting it to be a mistake. But there it was. The invitation. Her wedding. She was getting married. And she wanted me there. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. I read and reread the words as if they might somehow change meaning if I concentrated hard enough. "I hope you can come. It would mean a lot to me." Simple words, yet the weight behind them was crushing. I remembered her vividly, every detail, the way her hair glinted in sunlight, the laugh that could light up a room, her gentle teasing when I fumbled with words trying to impress her. I remembered our late night talks, lying on the grass in the park, talking about dreams we weren't brave enough to chase. And I remembered leaving, how I had walked away, convinced I wasn't ready for love, convinced I needed to build my life without her, convinced I was doing the right thing. Now, years later, the past slammed into me with the force of a storm. Questions I had buried came screaming back. Was leaving her a mistake? What if I miss my chance forever? Can someone love you the same way after all this time? I closed my eyes and let myself sink into the memories. I could see her face, hear her voice, feel the warmth of her hand in mine. I remembered how I had felt then, so alive, so terrified, so hopelessly in love. And I remembered the pain of walking away, of saying goodbye, of pretending I could live without her. The rain outside seemed to echo my thoughts. Each drop against the window sounded like a heartbeat, reminding me that time had passed, that life had moved on, but that some things never truly leave you. I spent hours pacing the apartment, staring at the email, my mind a storm of emotion. Should I go? Would seeing her be a mistake, a reminder of a life I could never have? Or would it be a chance, maybe my only chance, to see her again, to face the choices I had made, to see if the love we shared could still exist in some form? By evening, I knew I couldn't ignore it. I needed to see her, not just to satisfy curiosity, not just to relive old memories, but to confront the truth I had avoided for years, the truth about myself, about love, and about the consequences of the choices we make when we're young and scared. I sat down at my desk, opened a notebook, and began scribbling a list of pros and cons. Though deep down I knew the decision had already been made. My heart had spoken, louder than reason ever could. I would go. I had to go. And with that, a quiet determination settled over me. No matter how painful or confusing the reunion might be, I had to face it. Because some invitations aren't just to weddings. They're invitations to confront your past, your regrets, and the feelings you've carried with you for far too long. The days that followed the email were a storm inside me. Every morning I woke up with her name in my mind, and every night I went to bed haunted by memories of our past. I told myself I was preparing for a simple visit, a polite nod at a wedding, but deep down I knew it wouldn't be simple. Seeing her after all these years, it was a confrontation with everything I had avoided, everything I had buried. I found myself revisiting old photos, old messages, letters I'd saved in a dusty drawer. Each one was a dagger and a balm at the same time. I remembered the afternoons we had spent walking along the river, our hands brushing, our laughter echoing in empty streets. I remembered the arguments we had, small misunderstandings that seemed enormous at the time, the petty fears that drove me away. And I remembered her eyes, the way they looked at me, full of hope, full of love, full of silent questions I had left unanswered. Packing for the trip was a strange ritual. I chose clothes I hadn't worn in years, trying to make myself presentable, trying to craft an image of the man I'd become. But as I folded each shirt, I realized it wasn't about the clothes. It was about facing the person I had been, the mistakes I had made, the years I had lost. I called a friend, a close one who had witnessed some of my past struggles, and admitted the truth. I don't know if I'm ready for this, I confessed. It's not just a wedding. It's everything. It's seeing her, talking to her, looking into her eyes, and realizing I might have ruined our chance forever. My friend chuckled softly. Then maybe that's exactly why you need to go, he said. Some things aren't meant to be ignored. Some things demand a confrontation, and sometimes the only way to forgive yourself is to face the truth. His words lingered with me as I boarded the train a few days later. The cityscape blurred past the window, but I hardly noticed. My mind was alive with scenarios. What if she didn't recognize me at first? What if she had changed completely? What if she hated me for leaving? And yet, amid all the fear, there was a spark, a quiet hope, that maybe, just maybe, some part of our connection had survived the years. During the journey, I found myself speaking aloud, rehearsing words I might say, apologies I might offer. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the empty compartment. "I was scared. I left when I shouldn't have. I should have stayed." The words felt heavy, laden with years of regret. I arrived in the small town where the wedding was to be held, a place that once held echoes of our shared past. Familiar streets, old cafes, the corner where we had our first kiss, all of it felt both foreign and achingly familiar. I checked into the hotel, paced the room, and stared at my reflection. Was I ready for this? Was I ready to face her, to see the woman she had become, to confront the ghost of the boy I once was? The night before the wedding, sleep eluded me. Memories of her laughed at me in my dreams, alternately joyful and sorrowful. I could feel the weight of the years pressing down on me. And then, as the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I realized something profound. This wasn't just about her, or even about us. It was about me confronting my own cowardice, my own inability to face love when it demanded courage. By the time I reached the wedding venue the next morning, dressed in a suit I barely recognized as mine, my heart was a mixture of dread and anticipation. Every step toward the hall felt like a step into the past and the present simultaneously. And then I saw her, just for a moment, across the crowded room. She was radiant, more beautiful than I had remembered. Yet there was something different in her gaze, something grown, something resilient, something that had survived the years I had abandoned her. My breath caught, my knees felt weak, and for the first time in a long while, I truly understood the gravity of what this day meant. This was not just a wedding, it was a reckoning, The wedding hall was alive with laughter and music, the kind of joy that made my chest ache. Guests mingled, clinking glasses, exchanging congratulations, and I drifted along the edges of the crowd, trying to make myself invisible while my mind replayed the decades we had been apart. Each face around me was unfamiliar, each smile directed at strangers, but my eyes searched for one face, the one that had haunted my thoughts for years, and then I saw her. She stood near the floral arch, talking to a group of friends. She was radiant, wearing a dress that seemed to capture every ray of sunlight streaming through the windows. Her hair was swept back, revealing the line of her neck, her delicate profile, and that same gaze I remembered from my youth. Something in her eyes seemed both familiar and distant, as though they had witnessed life in ways I could never have imagined. My heart raced, my palms were sweaty. I wanted to walk up to her, to speak, to reach out, but my body felt like it belonged to someone else. I took a hesitant step forward, then stopped. Memories came rushing back in vivid waves. Our first walk in the park, the shy confessions whispered under the stars, the arguments we had that felt like the end of the world at the time. And then the memory of leaving her, how I had walked away, convinced I was doing the right thing. The regret settled over me like a heavy cloak. Glance, I saw a flicker of recognition. A glance, I saw a flicker of recognition, a spark that told me that part of our past still lived in her heart. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice when I finally approached. "Hi," I said, my words barely audible over the music. She turned fully toward me. There was a pause, a fraction of a second stretched into eternity. And then she smiled, not the wide, carefree smile of her youth, but something softer, wiser, more measured. "I wondered if you'd come," she said, her voice calm, almost teasing, but with an undercurrent of emotion that made my chest tighten. "Of course," I managed, though my throat felt dry. I had to see you. I had to." She held up a hand, stopping me mid-sentence. "I know," she said. "I've thought about you, too. More than you probably imagine." Her words were simple, yet they carried years of unspoken feelings. My mind spun, trying to reconcile the past with the present. She had grown into someone I barely recognized and yet knew in every detail. She was no longer the girl I left behind. She was stronger, more confident, more beautiful, and somehow heartbreakingly real. We talked cautiously at first, exchanging polite small talk about life, work, travels, anything to fill the space between us. But underneath every word, every glance, there was a tension neither of us could ignore. The room seemed to fade away, the music and laughter dissolving into the background. All that remained was her, the way her eyes caught the light, the slight curve of her lips, the gentle warmth of her presence. A flashback hit me suddenly, the day I walked away. I saw her sitting on the steps, tears in her eyes, silently begging me to stay. I had turned my back, too afraid of commitment, too afraid of being vulnerable. And now, facing her again, the weight of that decision pressed down on me. "I've missed you," I finally admitted, my voice low, almost a whisper. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. "I've missed you too," she said. And just like that, years of distance, anger, regret, and longing seemed to collapse into that single fragile moment. I realized then that this wasn't just a reunion. It was a test, a confrontation with all the choices I had made, all the years lost, and the love that had endured in spite of time. And though the path ahead was uncertain, though I could not predict the future, one thing was clear. Seeing her again had awakened something in me I thought I had buried forever. For the first time in years, I felt alive. After that first glance, the initial shock began to settle, but the air between us remained charged. I found myself hovering near her, watching her move through the crowd with the grace of someone completely at ease in the world, a world I had left behind so long ago. She laughed, she smiled, she engaged with her friends, and all the while my chest felt like it might split with a mix of longing and fear. I finally managed to approach her again, this time when she stepped away from the crowd to adjust a flower arrangement on the table. The moment she saw me, her eyes softened. "You made it," she said, almost a statement, not a question. Her voice carried the same warmth I had remembered, but there was a subtle steel beneath it, a quiet strength I hadn't noticed before. "I wouldn't have missed it," I replied, though my voice betrayed me, shaking slightly. I needed to see you." She studied me, her gaze piercing, like she was trying to measure the distance between the boy I once was and the man standing before her. "And what do you see?" she asked softly. I hesitated. Could I be honest? Could I tell her that I still thought about the nights we spent together, the laughter, the arguments, the tears, that I had regretted leaving her every single day? Instead, I offered a safer reply. "I see someone who has grown, someone strong and beautiful." She tilted her head, a small, knowing smile tugging at her lips. "And do you think the man you see has grown too?" she asked, and the question hit me harder than any blow ever could. It was simple, yet loaded with meaning. It demanded truth. The wedding continued around us, but we were in our own world. I watched as friends and family celebrated. Couples danced and toasts were made, but I felt disconnected, as though I were witnessing life through a pane of glass. My mind kept drifting back to her, to what could have been, to the years lost to fear and hesitation. At one point she led me to a quieter corner of the garden. The scent of blooming roses hung in the air, mingling with the faint aroma of champagne. We talked then, really talked, about life since we last met. She spoke of her career, her travels, the joys and hardships she had faced. I listened, astonished at her resilience, her ability to embrace life fully. "And you?" she asked finally, turning the question toward me. "What have you done all these years?" I told her, carefully, honestly, about my work, my failures, my moments of regret. I admitted to the empty spaces in my life, the nights when memories of her haunted me, the quiet longing I had carried. As I spoke, I saw a flicker in her eyes, a mixture of empathy and perhaps the faintest trace of the old spark that had once bound us together. But then came the inevitable question I had feared. "Do you still feel something for me?" I froze. My heart hammered in my chest. Every instinct told me to deny it, to protect myself from the vulnerability that admitting the truth would bring. But lying felt impossible. "Yes," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "I do. I always have." Her eyes softened, yet a shadow passed across her face, a mixture of longing, sadness, and the weight of the life she had built without me. She didn't respond immediately. We stood in silence, surrounded by laughter and music, yet isolated in our own fragile, suspended world. It was then I realized that the invitation to her wedding was not just about seeing her. It was about confronting every choice I had made. It was about understanding that love is not just about presence, but about courage, honesty, and timing. And in that moment, I understood that the past and present had collided in ways neither of us could ignore. As the evening light softened over the garden, I made a silent vow: no matter how this night ended, no matter the distance time had placed between us, I would not let fear dictate my actions again. Because some chances, even decades later, are worth risking everything for. The music swelled as the ceremony progressed, the hall now filled with soft murmurs, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. I remained on the outskirts, my heart pounding as I watched her walk down the aisle. She was breathtaking, more radiant than I had ever imagined. Every step she took was graceful, her eyes shining with happiness. Yet I noticed a flicker of something else, something almost imperceptible that reminded me of the girl I once knew. I realized then that it wasn't just her wedding I had come to attend. It was a confrontation with the past, with myself, and with the choices that had defined the course of both our lives. The weight of every year I had wasted pressing down, reminding me that time is both cruel and generous in ways we rarely understand. After the ceremony, I found myself drawn toward the garden again, seeking a private space where the noise of the celebration couldn't reach me. And there she was, waiting, almost as if she had anticipated my need to escape the crowd. Her gaze met mine, and I felt that same electric pull from years ago, the one that had once held me captive without my permission. "Are you happy?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my attempt to sound composed. She looked at me, her eyes glistening. "I am," she said softly. "I've built a life I'm proud of. But I also remembered you. I couldn't stop thinking about what might have been." I swallowed hard, emotions twisting in my chest. "I've thought about you every day," I admitted, my voice breaking. "Every mistake I made, every regret I carried, it always led me back to you. I left because I was scared. Scared of failing you, scared of failing myself. But nothing has ever erased you from my heart." A silence stretched between us, heavy and full of the words we both wanted to say but didn't know how to. Around us the party continued, but it felt distant, irrelevant. All that mattered was this moment, the two of us, years of longing and regret suspended in the air like fragile glass. She stepped closer, her hand brushing against mine, a light touch that sent a shiver down my spine. "I loved you," she said quietly, "even when you left, even when I tried to move on. I never stopped." I could hardly breathe. The intensity of her words mirrored my own feelings I had fought for so long to suppress. "And I love you," I whispered. "I always have." Her eyes searched mine, seeking the truth. "Then why didn't we stay together?" I looked down, shame and sorrow flooding me. "I was too afraid, too foolish. I thought leaving was the brave choice, but it was cowardice disguised as courage. I failed you, and I failed myself." Tears welled in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment I feared I had destroyed any chance of reconciliation. But then she smiled, a sad, beautiful, knowing smile that carried forgiveness and pain in equal measure. "We can't go back," she said. "We can't change the past, but maybe we can start from here." Those words struck me like a lightning bolt. The past was gone, irrevocable, but the present was ours. And in that moment, surrounded by the remnants of the celebration, I realized that love isn't about timing or perfection. It's about courage, honesty, and the willingness to face what's inside your heart, even if it terrifies you. I took her hand, holding it firmly, feeling the warmth and reality of her presence. "I don't care about what comes next," I said. "All I care about is that I'm here, with you, and I'm not going anywhere." She leaned closer, her forehead resting against mine, and whispered, "Neither am I." The world around us melted away, the music, the chatter, the clinking glasses, and all that remained was us. Two hearts, years apart, now reunited by truth, honesty, and the undeniable force of love that had survived time, distance, and fear. And in that garden, under the fading light of the day, I finally understood something profound. Sometimes the moments we think are lost forever return to us in unexpected ways, demanding that we face our past, embrace our mistakes, and fight for the love that never truly left our hearts. It was a beginning, not an end. The celebration continued around us, but I no longer felt the weight of the crowd, the music, or the laughter. All that mattered was the quiet space between us, the space where years of longing, regret, and love had finally converged. We walked slowly through the garden, our hands entwined, letting the cool evening breeze carry away the tension that had built over decades. She stopped near a small fountain, its water shimmering in the fading light. I could see the reflection of her eyes, so full of emotion, searching mine for answers, for truth. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if things had been different?" she asked softly. "All the time," I admitted. "Every day I wondered if I had ruined my only chance at happiness. But I've learned something important." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of honesty and vulnerability. "I've learned that life doesn't always give us the perfect timing. It gives us choices and sometimes the courage to take a chance on love, even if it scares us." Her eyes glistened. "I guess we both had to grow separately," she said, a faint smile on her lips. "But maybe all that time apart taught us how much we truly mean to each other." I nodded, feeling tears prick my eyes. "I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want fear or regret to dictate us ever again. I only want the truth, what we feel here and now." She took a deep breath and reached up to touch my face, her fingers gentle but firm. "Then let's not waste it," she whispered. "Let's start from here. Let's see where this can go without the shadows of the past holding us back." We embraced, the years of separation melting away in a single heartbeat. It wasn't magic or instant perfection. It was honesty, acceptance, and a willingness to face the future together. The pain of past mistakes still lingered, but it no longer had power over us. Instead, it became a reminder of how precious every moment of love truly is. That night, I realized something profound. Life doesn't always give second chances, but when it does, we must be brave enough to recognize them, to embrace them fully, and to honor the love that has endured despite everything. The wedding ended, guests departed, and the hall emptied. But we stayed behind in the quiet of the garden, talking late into the night, sharing stories, laughter, and the fragile dreams of two hearts finally reunited. I understood then that love isn't about perfection or timing. It's about courage, honesty, and the willingness to fight for what matters most. As we walked together into the early morning, I knew that the future was uncertain, full of challenges and unknowns. But for the first time in years, I felt ready to face life with her side by side, ready to let go of regret, ready to embrace love without fear. And in that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of dawn, I finally understood the truth that had eluded me for so long. Some loves are worth waiting for, worth fighting for, and worth returning to, no matter how many years have passed. Because sometimes the past comes back not to haunt us, but to guide us toward the life and the love we were always meant to have.